Okay, last month's chapter was about fractions and how to compare fractions, because sometimes fractions have different denominators. So if we'd like to know which fraction is bigger, 2/3 or 4/7, we worked out how to do that by doing the division. 2/3 we know is 0.66666666. And 4/7 we could also work out 7s go into 0 into 4 0 times with 4 left over. 7s into 40 go 5 times. With 5 7s are 35, we had 40, there'd be 5 left over. 7s into 50 would go 9 times, 1 left over. 7 7s are 49. 7s into 10 would go 1. So we'd get a recurring sequence there. It would go on and on and on. So we could, if we were going to compare these fractions, we'd have to turn them into decimal forms. But decimals have lots and lots of 7 should be written there, sorry, 7 7s, 49. So these, but I mean it's a real mouthful, isn't it, to say, well, 0.66666 recurring is bigger than 0.571 blah blah blah, because it sort of doesn't finish, it also goes on forever. So a way that we can compare them in a simpler way is to just work out what that decimal number is times 100, and we call that term percentage instead. So the whole of this number, to change that into a percentage, would be 66.6 recurring percent. We take the decimal number and multiply it by 100. So if I was going to eat a piece of pizza, and I was going to eat 2/3 of the pizza, I ate this one, and then I ate this one, I could say that I've eaten exactly 66.6 recurring percent. Percentage, we usually just round it off to the whole number. We say it's approximately 67%. So percentage is just the decimal number multiplied by 100, which means we move the decimal point 2 places to the right, 1, 2, and then we round off our answer to give us 67. This one, this decimal number, 0.571, as a percentage, if we were trying to work out 4/7 of our piece of pizza, so we now split our pizza instead of into 3 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not very equal pieces, but imagine that they were. 4/7 would be 0.571, which as a percentage would be 0.571 times 100, which would be 57.1%, which would be approximately 57%. We can see that 57% is a lot smaller than 67. So percentage is a way of comparing fractions or decimals with just nice, simple whole numbers. It's a lot easier to say 57% than it is to say 0.571 blah, 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 blah. Okay? 0.6666. So we just round it off to nice, whole, easy numbers to say. 67%, 57%, 0.4 times 100, 40%. 0.1523, approximately 15%. So all of these numbers are much easier to express as a percentage. And that's what we do. So if we wanted to know how to convert any fraction or any decimal into a percentage, we just move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So if we were to take this fraction here, 12/30ths. Percentages are really easy to get if we have 10, 100, or 1,000, or 10,000 on the bottom. So the first thing we do with this fraction is change it so that we get 10 on the bottom. If we divide the bottom number here, 30, by 3, we would have 10 down there. Decimal numbers with tens, hundreds, or thousands on the bottom, fractions with tens, hundreds, or thousands on the bottom are really easy to convert into decimal and percentage form. If we divided the bottom number by 3, we have to divide the top number by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So 12/30ths is equivalent to the fraction 4/10, which is equivalent to the number 0.4. And 0.4 as a percentage, we multiply any decimal by the percentage, 0.4 times 100, we move the decimal point 2 places, would be 40%. Wherever there's a gap there, we put in a 0. So we get that 12/30ths is exactly the same as the number 4/10, which is 40%. What do we do then when we've got 9/25ths? Well, we want numbers, really nice, simple numbers on the bottom that are factors of 10, 100, or 1,000. If we multiply 25 by 4, we would get a nice 100 on the bottom. And that's what we're trying to get. If we multiply the bottom part of the fraction by 4, the denominator, we also have to multiply the numerator by 4 as well. And we know that 9 fours are 36. To change this fraction into a percentage, we just multiply the whole fraction by 100%. On the top here we have 100, and on the bottom here we have 100. So we get 100 divided by 100, which is 1, giving us the answer straight away as 36%. If we have the number 20 on the bottom, it's also very easy. Because now we have a fraction, 3/20ths. If we multiply 20 by 5, we get 100 on the bottom. If we multiply the denominator by 5, we must multiply the numerator by 5 as well. 3 5s are 15, giving us 15/100ths as our equivalent fraction. To change any fraction to any percentage, we take the fraction and multiply it by 100%. 100 divided by 100 is 1, giving us the answer 15%. So if I was to eat up 15% of my bag of sweets, and there was 20 sweets in the bag, I'd be eating up 3 of them, which is the same as 3 sweets out of a bag of 20 is the same as 15%. I could now compare quite easily if I'd rather have 3 sweets out of a bag of 20 or 4 sweets out of a bag of 30 if I converted both of these into percentages. Let's change this one into percentage as well. Divide by 10. 30 divided by 10 would give, by 3. Whoops. 30 divided by 3 would give me 10 on the bottom. 4 divided by 3 would give me 1.3 recurring. Now we've got a combination of fractions and percentage. We're not supposed to really have that. It's 0.13333 as a decimal, which as a percentage, multiply 0.13 recurring by 100% would get 13%. So if I was going to choose between 13% of the sweets or 15% of the sweets, it would depend how many sweets I'd like left over at the end. Okay, and then we have our last one. What do we do then when you can't simplify the fractions to get a 10 or 100 or 1,000 on the bottom? Well, that's quite easy as well, as long as you remember the rule that any fraction can be converted to any decimal by just doing the division. 6's go into 1, 0 times 1 left over. Decimal point in the same place. 6's go into 10, 1 time, 4 left over. 6's go into 40, 6's are 36, so it's going to go 6 times, and there's going to be 4 left over. So we're going to get this number carrying on forever and ever. So we just do the division. I put quite a few decimal places there. It will be, the answer to 1/6 would be 0.166666. To turn this decimal number into a percentage, we take our 0.16, multiply by 100%, giving us 16.6% recurring. When it comes to percentage, we usually do them to whole percentages. So we'd round that one off, we'd look at the number afterwards. It's higher than a 5, 5 or higher. This number goes up 1, so it's approximately the same as 17%. So this is how we can convert any fraction to a percentage directly. If we can get nice hundreds, tens or thousands on the bottom. If we can't, we don't worry about it. We turn it into the decimal form and then just move the decimal point 2 places to the right to give us the percentage form, and then we round off to whole percentage.